Welcome to the Embracing Singleness podcast with your host, my sister, Elder Prophetess Shimika Bowers. The purpose of this podcast is to change the perception of being saved and single from being an obstacle to being a blessing, while embracing our singleness to help build functional relationships as Christ so desires. So again, let's welcome our host, Prophetess Shimika Bowers.
All right, so I am here with Miss Chandra Bowers, my sister, my best friend. So we are actually just going to recap. We actually are wrapping up the series, 5 Signs That You're With the Wrong Person. So I really just wanted this to just be a podcast of overall what her takeaway is on this. We've kind of made her the voice of the group tonight. So Miss Chandra, welcome.
Yay,
Hey. All right. So as you know, you've been with us since the beginning of, I think this is our second series.
Right? Get ready to go.
Yeah. You're getting ready to go into the third. Yes. So let me just give you a recap of what the next series is. You ready?
I am.
Breaking soul ties.
Ooh, yeah.
So now that you have the privilege of knowing what the next series is, can you tell us what the takeaway is for the ones that have been on, what the takeaway is, and also give us a preview or tell us why this series right here is the first 2 series is important to go into this third part of breaking soul ties.
Well, I think if we just take that question right there, I think the reason why the first 2 series have been so important is because when you understand where you are and what it is you want, and when you're looking at red flags, it will help you from creating those soul ties with the wrong person. Mm-hmm. So if you follow step 1 or series 1, series 2, then it helps you to prevent creating soul ties. And so creating soul ties with the wrong people, because then what happens is you don't have to try to pray your way out of an addiction that you've created for yourself, or trying to dig yourself out of a hole, because then you've understood exactly where you're going, what you're looking for, and how to make sure that any ties that you create are healthy ties that are going to be beneficial and a service to you and where you're going in life, and your service and your commitment with God.
Okay. So tell me what your takeaway from this series is. If someone has not watched or has not been on the Zoom this past, we've been in this for 6 weeks almost, I think.
Almost. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So if you had to give them the cliff notes of what this series was about, can you share that?
First of all, understanding where you are. You have to understand where you are, who you are, where you're going. You have to understand, not only do you have to identify what somebody else's red flags are, but you have to know what yours are too. So that way you're not a red flag for somebody else. It's always easy to be the victim, but you have to realize sometimes we victimize others in our own process of healing, or in our necessary, whatever we're doing. So understanding what creates red flags, the red flags that we have, and then how to just move in who God has called you to be is what I think that would be my overall cliff notes, is how to maneuver in your singleness without sacrificing Christ again. He already did it one time. He don't have to do it. We shouldn't have to do that again. So I think that throughout this whole thing, the one thing that I have learned is how to stay true to myself and Christ without making a compromise on my relationship with Christ, but still being able to move in my singleness and not feel so restricted Because when you have a desire to just want to do good, it doesn't feel like a restriction. It doesn't feel like I'm being red tape. I'm just being me, and I'm allowed to be me. So I think that that's what this series is really done, is that for all the stigma that the people are, that the world tries to put on singleness, they make it ugly. They make it like, oh, you can't be saved and have a relationship with your spouse or your mate, or want to be in a relationship and then have a relationship with God. No, this has really taught us that no, you can have a healthy balance of Christ, as well as a healthy, balanced relationship. And one is not going to ask you to compromise the other, you know. And understanding that the only compromise that we have is when we're unequally yoked and we feel like there's a choice that has to be made.
Well, I'm glad you caught yourself, because sometimes there is a compromise. There is a compromise when we're connected to someone that is not meant, that has got the red flags, and God is saying, no, I need you to stop what you're doing. You're killing your growth. You're haltering your growth. So sometimes there is a compromise that has to be made, because if Christ tells us sever the ties, that's what we have to do. And sometimes it will compromise. We have to compromise because, and we don't really look at it as a compromise unless it's just something our flesh doesn't want to do. If we are in love with Christ, first and foremost, if he is, as my saying, the lover of my soul, that he's my companion. It's really not it's not a compromise. It's not a something negative for me. No matter what we have going on in our life, we all work. We all are juggling family life. We're all juggling day to day. But on Mondays at 7:30 sharp, if I'm not where I'm supposed to be, you're one that is like, hey, what's going on? And no matter what your day is, it's like you look forward to that time. Teach me how to get closer to him. Teach me how to maneuver. Teach me how to go from day to day. And I think, and I'm gonna have you share on that a little bit. You had shared, I think it was the last meeting. I think you shared, you was like, I look forward to these calls, whether it's alpha, whether it's embracing singleness. It's like, because it's like God is preparing you for whatever is getting ready to come. Talk to us about that a little bit.
So I think that, I think it's just what I said, is that every time I'm on, no matter what class or call I'm on, I think that God reveals himself to me each time. He reveals something that I'm seeking. And so, or it's almost like I always say, he gives me the answers to the test of what's coming the week before. And I think that's really truly like what God does, is that he tries to make it to where the test that's coming, if we stay in his word and we're seeking God diligently and we're doing our part, that there's not a test that can come by surprise. There's not like a pop quiz, you know. But it has just been so, and I'll say it, for me, I've just been so blessed that God has just, in my walk, in this walk that I have, when I gave God my for real yes, not my yeses in my yesteryears, but my for real yes, God has made it to where I'm giving you the answers to the test. Just pay attention. If you listen, if you seek me with your whole heart, if you really line up with my word, if you really understand. And I think that this is where I really had to get is that I had to understand that every morning I give way to what God's will is for my life. And I invite God into my day. And I invite God into the problem. I don't wait till there is a problem. I go ahead and invite him in before there's anything to occur. So just as the song say, walk with me, Lord, I realize that not only is God walking with me, but he is walking in me and I'm walking in him. And so when I begin to move around in that there's not, between the alpha calls and these calls that we have for the singleness, it's almost like there's a covenant that happens. Like there's a covenant that happens, and there's not a situation that I incur, even that I come across, that it's like, oh, well, I don't know what to do here. I know very well what to do. And so, even I think, you as my sister, you have seen it to where even in work relationships, the singleness, it doesn't just prepare you about single. This is about work relationships. This is about family relationships. This teaches you boundaries. This teaches you on, the areas that you feel like you don't really that are kind of spinning out of control. It helps you kind of get a grasp on those type situations, to where even with me, like I used to be such a people pleaser in work, right? That I didn't have a balance, and you would have to fuss at me all the time about, why are you doing that? Why are you doing this? Well, I started setting boundaries, not only in personal life, saying yes I will, no I won't, and not being afraid to say no, or not being afraid to understand, or to worry about what people will say about me. And even on the before last yesterday, God gave me something, because I was doing something, and God spoke to me clear and said, stop worrying about people's thoughts or comments regarding you. They're just comments, not verdicts.
That's good. That's
And
good.
so when God spoke to me and said, it's just comments, it's just thoughts, it's not a verdict. They don't have a sentence to put on you. They don't have a verdict to give to you. Their words are not verdicts for your life. They're just comments. And when God said that to me yesterday, knowing that we were going to be on this call today, I was excited. I said, oh my God. Oh, because it just, that right, it freed me of so much, and it helped me to be able to even more understand why boundaries, why communication, why it's very clear in how you talk to people. Nobody, I feel like, whenever in relationships, the one thing that this has taught me is that nobody should ever have to leave the room wondering, what did she just say? What is she talking about? No,
Mm-hmm.
I'm real clear. And the reason why I'm real clear with you is because I'm real clear with myself.
Okay.
And so this has really taught me how to even, like, with hearing Bishop talk about, like, stop being emotional, stop talking out of feelings, because feelings change from one day to the next, and how you feel today might not be how you feel tomorrow. So when you're speaking in feelings, it's kind of sporadic, right? It's just all over the place. But when you get quiet and you get clear, and you begin to ask for clarity even inside of yourself, and you begin to clarity with God, now because I'm clear to me, I can be clear to you. Now, because I understand what God has for me, I can tell you what I need from you.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I think, to me, that's what this the alpha class, the singleness class, that's what it has taught me. It has taught me how to be well balanced in all areas, not in just one area, but in all areas of life.
So I know that you and I, because we are sisters, and we talk. I know for me, just doing these classes, and the red flags and things of that nature. And as we always say, when we get a test and we fail it, God's going to send it back around,
Right.
right? So I know for me, in during teaching this series, I can't teach what I've not been through, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it was like the person that made me the weakest flesh wise,
Mm-hmm.
which is crazy, right? It's like, used to be putty, but now, because of the first series, who, what, where, why, when, and now the 5 red flags, is kind of like, you can't unlearn what you learned.
Yeah.
And I know that that you actually had sort of the same experience, and you're like, you're never guess who's reached out to me out of nowhere. And guess
Yeah.
what? I was able to say, no, and then I was
Mm-hmm.
good.
Mm-hmm.
So I think overall, this has real like with these teachings, um, you really are, for me, I'm really able to embrace where I am. I know the ministry is embracing singleness. We're able to embrace singleness because we're single at this time, but to
Mm-hmm.
be able to embrace where you are in life and be okay with where you are in life, but then not be okay because now you want more and you can't be complacent and stuck right here. It's like you want more. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and I know you've kind of talked to me about that. Can you just share just a little bit of that of how? Because I know I said to keep a journal, and I know you are a journal person.
Mm-hmm.
So have you looked back through this journey that we started just a few short months ago, and have you been able to see the progress? What goes through your mind when you're or if you have you went back and read where you were when you started and where you are now?
Yeah. So when we talk about that, the I don't like to use the word. Let's not say complacent, but the Apostle Paul said that he's been content with whether when he had little and when he had a lot, and so just because I'm content doesn't mean that I'm comfortable or that I'm finished. It just means that I'm okay here. I'm content in this place. So
Mm-hmm.
this place, the surrounding situations are not going to disrupt my peace. I'm not going to let my happenings destroy my happiness. I'm
Okay.
going to be content with it all. Whether whether I have somebody or whether I'm by myself, I think that in my even before then, as soon as heartbreak would set in, I would have to try to hurry up to try to find another relationship to band-aid the relationship that I had before, never fixing myself, right?
Mm-hmm.
um and I think that when I look back on where I was when I started, before I started, you know it would be from, I'm pretty much an even kilter kind of person, but as your sister, I can be very emotional. And one day I'm like, right. Next day I'm like, no, I'm cool. I'm cool. I'm cool. Then next day I'm like, right. I'm cool. I'm cool. I'm cool. And it might not be the next day. It might be 10 minutes from now. But I think that in where we are, it has caused me not to look outside of myself. It has caused me not to look for external things, but to look inward, to deal with me. I can't deal with anything else until I deal with me first. So it helped this whole time. In even like you said with journaling, um our very first singleness class, we dealt with communication. And I remember I had always, even in that class, I think there was a time I said, just because you communicate doesn't mean that you communicate effectively. There's two different types. I'm very verbal, and I thought, oh, there's no way that people could misconstrue what I'm saying because I'm very clear. No, just because you can talk and you can communicate doesn't mean that you can talk effectively.
Mm-hmm.
Because talking effectively means that I'm talking and the person that is now listening can understand what's being said. If you are in a place to where what I'm saying is so harsh that you can't hear the message, what I'm saying is so rude you can't hear the message, and I was more in a place of like, because I ain't got time to baby you, right?
Mm-hmm.
um but then this caused me to say, but what if God did me like that? I ain't got time to baby you. You've been at this long enough, you should know, right? And how hard that would be on me. So this caused me to really take a look at, do for others what God does for you. Forgive
Mm.
others the way God forgives you. Be gentle with others the way God is gentle with you. Nobody's asking you to be God. But what I'm saying is that the same thing that you need to be able to be productive in your day might be the same thing somebody else needs. I dare you ask for that and you can't be that. How can you ask for something you can't be?
Mm-hmm.
And if the word is true that God will judge us on the measures that we judge others, what if he loved us on the measures that we loved others?
Girl, bye.
What if he dealt with us on the measures that we deal with others? So that caused me to stop, to really think, to say, what if God did me the way I did somebody today? What if God talked to me the way I talked to somebody else? How would I want to hear that if I'm on the opposite end of that thing? Um, and so looking at my journal just from where I started again, I've always been one of like, oh, I'm at peace. Okay, but just from where we started to where we are, where I am now, I can tell you clearly, I don't feel like I'm the same person when we first started. In fact, I think that my wants even changed. My wants started identify my not even. I know
Come on.
this is not my wants started lining up with what God's wants were,
Talk
not what I,
about it.
but it was
Mm-hmm.
more about what God wanted. So I stopped talking to God about what I wanted and started asking God, what is it that He wants?
Mm. There is a
I
difference.
there is, and so every day, that's where I stand with God. It's not God, what do I want from you, but God, what do you want from me?
Mm-hmm.
And God, if you look in me and you don't see it, put it in me that it may be what it is that you want of me. Because
Mm-hmm.
as long as it's what it is that you want, I can't go wrong. But when it's what I want, well, that's what got us here. My wants is why I'm here, Lord. My wants is why I was broken. My wants is what got me in turmoil. My wants are what created soul ties. My wants are, why there was many a nights honey, I was praying that God would just free me from situations to where now when I tell you I was a hostage. But but that's where my wants got me. But God's wants got me to perfect peace. God's wants got me to where I can sleep at night and where I
Mm-hmm.
can wake up in the morning. God's wants got me to where I love myself. And not only do I love myself, but I love the people around me. Um, Even when sometimes when they unlovable. Um, my daughter told me this week, I think I told you, I was talking to her about Grace, and she said, here you go with Grace. I done told you I don't want nothing to do with Grace. She gets on my nerves. And I said, but she's always around. She's always around. And so that's just really where I have been. I think this call, or these calls, I've learned so much that I've been able to even identify my own red flags. Because there's times I have to look at myself and say, "Ooh, baby. Now, if you had to talk about this on the call, would you be willing to call this out, girl? No, settle back down. Get yourself together. Come on back." So yeah, that's how it really has been. Is that knowing that these calls on Monday and Tuesday are almost like my accountability meetings where we just checking in. Where y'all at? This is one of the perfect things for me because if I'm not going to hide from God, I'm definitely not going to hide from some people on the call who don't have a heaven or a hell to put me in.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes me want to be better for the people around me. It makes me want to be better for God. It makes me want to be better for my community. It makes me want to be better for my children. It makes me watch how I talk to my kids, how I relate to my kids, even in helping them maneuver in situations to where my daughter, my 15-year-old can sit and say to me now, if I have to beg for it, I don't need it.
Right.
If I have to beg somebody for it, mama, I'm good. I don't want it. That's not something that I would not have said at 15.
Right.
You know? So these calls, even when my children don't think they're listening, or when I don't think they're listening, they're listening.
Mm-hmm. Because
And
sometimes we're the red flag.
we are.
We're the
We
red
are.
flag. Um, let's because you said something that was really profound. Talking about the more you dive in and embracing your singleness, the more you learn on these calls, your wants and desires change.
Mm-hmm.
And then I know for myself, it's kind of like the more I learn about God, the very thing that I was praying for, that I wanted, that Lord, I would try to move heaven and earth to get it. It's like the more you mature in Christ, it's kind of like, yeah, not for me, not really
Yeah.
for me. So I'm praying, and my desire is that that young men, women, that are on these calls are able to say, I don't have to, I don't have to sell myself short
Mm-hmm.
to get what God desires for me. I can actually give love without the prerequisite of pain, because I deserve love without the prerequisite of pain. I pray that's kind of what is turning out to be. It's not a bashing, it's not a judgmental atmosphere. I'm
Mm-hmm.
wanting it to be, listen, if uh take because people look and they say, just because you have a title that you have it all together. No, yeah, I'm Prophetess Shimika, I'm Elder Bowers, but guess what? There's a woman that I live every day in this flesh, and I don't always have it together. I don't always cross every T and dot every I. But in the thing that we crave the most, which is love. A lot of us jump on these calls because we're craving love. We're craving the support system. We're craving all of this, not realizing that, yes, that's important, but everything that I need, God actually put already in me.
Right.
And when we're not being fulfilled, number one, we're out of position.
Mm-hmm.
Number two, when people know better, they do better.
Mm-hmm.
That's my belief.
Mm-hmm.
So with the five signs you're with the wrong person, people would hear that and think relationship, romantic relationship. That's not accurate. I think you just spoke on how this has helped you in your professional relationship, the relationship with your children, the relationship with your nephews. Like I'm sitting back and I'm able to watch the growth. And as you stated earlier, because I told you that our next series is breaking soul ties. This has now become a platform to get you exactly where you desire to be, and to get you closer to where God desires for you to see yourself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Does that
Yeah,
make sense?
it does. I think that before this call, women, people in general, I'm not going to say women, but when you're looking for love, sometimes we always seem to, and what I have found is that this is what I'm going to say. Um, and I don't know, I'm only going to speak for Black women in general, but this is what I have found a lot of, is that sometimes Black women feel like we got to go through a whole lot of mess to get love. It's like, oh, we got to go through about 3 or 4 years of pain, and then finally they decide to marry us, and then, oh, and now things are going good. But I think that this call has taught us, no, there's a choice that says you don't have to go through 5 years of pain to finally be a winner by default, because that's really what it is. You're just the girl who stuck around because nobody else did, or you ran everybody else off. And so now you're the winner by default, but you're not the winner. But there is somebody that God has for you that will tell you you are the winner. You
Mm-hmm.
were first place, you were first choice. There was no other choices. When they saw you, they knew that that you was the woman that God created them to be. And this if you will allow it to help you, it will teach you that you don't have to be the winner by default, and
Mm-hmm.
you don't have to take second best, because the day that God decided, the day that Jesus gave up his life made you a winner that
Mm-hmm.
day. And
Right.
when you walk in that birthright, and when you walk in and understanding that you are a true child of a true king, you don't have to take less than. That God has made it so to where we don't have to take anything less than what we deserve. The part of that is you got to know what it is you deserve. It's like we talk about all the time. How can you stand on what you deserve when you don't know what God's words is? How do you know what God has for you when you don't even know who God is?
Right.
And there's a difference between relationship and religion.
Come on. Correct.
And you got to have a real relationship, and when you allow God to show you that he puts you first, if God will put, with all the stuff that he got, he still puts me first.
Right.
With all the times that I've let him down, he's still committed to me. When you understand there is a love out there like that, how could you take anything less?
Right.
When you understand that God looked down on you, and like I said, that God decided that people's comments were not verdicts for my life. People's feelings were not verdicts for my life. That how people feel about me, how people think of me, what people say about me, those are not verdicts for my life. They're just comments, thoughts, and feelings. But nobody can put a verdict on my life.
Mm-hmm.
That makes me move differently, because now I don't have to take what you think you should give me, but I get to decide, and I get to take exactly what God has for me. And I know that God has aligned it up in such a way that I know it's what he has for me. I don't have to be confused about it, because I understand that what God has for me is never going to cause conflict.
God is not the author of confusion. So
I'm not going to feel conflicted or confused by it.
right. So and I think and I hope it has been taught or construed that I try to tell women, and I've had to learn this myself. When we are the rib, why? Because God says that we're the favor, but we walk around like they're doing us a favor, right?
Right.
So when I look at some of the lessons and things, when I'm trying to put these things together, it's like the rib. What is the rib's job? The rib's job is to protect two vital organs, your heart and your lung.
Mm-hmm.
You can't live without your heart, and you're going to have a hard time breathing without your lung.
There you go.
So why, number one, he that finds a wife finds a good thing and favor with God. So if you done met me and you
Mm-hmm.
confused about if I'm the one, number one, I ain't the one.
Mm-hmm.
Number two, you clearly you have no relationship with God, because God would tell you this is your wife. You would know. And it don't
Mm-hmm.
take 30, 40 years for you to figure it out.
Right.
But the thing is my job is to protect your heartbeat.
Mm-hmm.
And to protect your lungs so that life doesn't knock the breath out of you.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to walk around as if I'm less than. So I'm praying that on these calls, men are really able to look into themselves and say, I am a king. I am created in his image. I'm strong. I'm powerful. And really get to say, listen, I'm wounded.
Mm-hmm.
I'm wounded.
Mm-hmm.
I'm broken.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like crying. I heard a saying that I have perfect, and someone actually prophesied it to me, said, you have perfected crying without the tears. And that is so profound. I didn't understand it then, but to be so conditioned not to cry,
Mm-hmm.
that's crazy to me.
Mm-hmm.
Does it mean I have to be emotional and cry all the time?
Mm-hmm.
But to be numb and say,
Mm-hmm.
I'm okay. No, I'm not okay. You mishandled me, and we're not going to go through this anymore. I'm not okay. So I may
Mm-hmm.
not cry, but being okay with not being okay,
Mm-hmm.
you can't become numb. Like, you have the right, and I hope the self-awareness is where we can, as Pastor Overseer Wilson says, emotional intelligence. Just because you hurt me doesn't mean you broke me.
Oh yeah.
I'm not going to lay in the bed. God loves you just the same as he loves me. I will not give you the power to have me questioning who I am, have me laying in the bed with my head under the cover, depressed on why you don't choose me. You don't choose me as a friend. You don't choose me as a mate. You don't choose me when you're doing something. But then I'm going to enter. No, baby. The red flag is you. I'm it. I just don't fit in your puzzle.
Oh yeah. And that's the thing, is like you said, like these calls, honestly, this is the best I can tell you, is that it really is teaching me. Even as we're talking, I'm learning something. Um, like you said, if I'm here to protect your heart and your lung,
Mm-hmm.
and you won't even do the very thing that's supposed to keep you alive, then that says a lot about, if you won't live for you, well then you ain't gonna live for me. If you ain't gonna if you ain't gonna do the if you ain't gonna protect. So I think that even in this, it says a lot about you. People gotta watch how people handle themselves.
Come
If
on.
you will mishandle you, you gonna mishandle me. If you gonna mishandle God, you gonna mishandle me, because I ain't nowhere near that. So if you're gonna mishandle, and even if you don't know who God is, but if you're gonna mishandle yourself, you're gonna mishandle me. There is nothing in you that's gonna show me that you're not gonna mishandle me. There is
Mm-hmm.
nothing that you have displayed today in any of your actions in the time that I've known you that shows that you're not gonna mishandle me. So before I lay down with you, I'm already seeing that you got a problem handling things. Why am I going to lay down with you?
Come
Why am
on.
I going to procreate with you? Why am I going to put my money with your money when you can't handle your own money? Why am I
Come on.
going to give you my heart when you can't even handle your own?
Right. And I had made a post that said, be careful being in relationships with people who will go places with you. They'll meet you in the bedroom.
Ooh,
They'll meet you. They'll go on vacation with you. They'll sleep with you. They'll take you out to eat, but they won't meet you at the altar.
now you done said something. Now you done said
We,
something.
we can go around. We can go around the world, but you can't meet me at the church at the altar.
And you can't figure it out.
You
Well,
can
I
get
mean,
you can give me your seed. You can give me your paycheck.
mm-hmm.
You can give me your attention, but you can't give me your last name.
Well, I'm not going to tell no lie. That's where this call has got me now. That's where I'm at right now. So I'm gonna just we're going to just tap. We just going to step back a little bit on that, because that's where I'm at right now. If I can't get your last name and get you to meet me at this place, then I can't do nothing. I
Mm-hmm.
can't I can't provide shelter for you. I can't be a support system for you. I'm giving you all of these wifely benefits for something that you can't even give me your last name, baby. I promise you right now. I promise I'm a win. I'm gonna tell you right now. Now I don't mean to toot my own horn, but beat, baby, and I'm a win.
Yeah, yeah. You can't die on me, and I'm the special friend in the obituary. Not at this age.
Right. You know what? That's so crazy. I was talking today, and I just, I said today, look, I'm, I'm 40, none of your business, but I am too grown in this big old age to be sitting here, not to be worried about how I'm gonna be listed in somebody's obituary, but I'm gonna have to try to help bury you too, baby. I think not. I think I'm too grown for it. I'm too grown for it, and I'm too old, but I'm going to tell you that is why these type of things are necessary, because if you've never seen what standard looks like,
Mm.
if you've never seen what setting a standard looks like, if everybody around you has the same situation, we all win the same thing. So who going to set the standard?
Come on.
And that's why mama would tell us all the time, if you the smartest person in the room, then baby, you better find another room.
That's right.
You should not be the smartest person in your circle. You shouldn't be the person who has all the answers. If you are that person, you're not in the right room. That's why these type of calls are necessary, because it this right here is preparing me to be somebody's wife, not somebody's girlfriend, not
Mm-hmm.
somebody's bedmate, not somebody's bill payment, not somebody's help. I am to be somebody's wife.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but if I don't know what that standard looks like, because I haven't seen it, if
Right.
there's people who haven't seen those type of things, but all of us collectively can talk about what we've seen, where we are, and we can kind of help adjust to what the standard should be. And
Mm-hmm.
we have the good bishop who will say, now that's not a realistic standard. You won't come on down and you're gonna be by yourself. There ain't nothing wrong with being by yourself, but don't be on these calls being mad at God because you by yourself. Be mad at them standards. Now come on down. And we got the good bishop who's going to tell us, no, don't come down. You stay right there. That's right where you're supposed to be.
Right.
Make this work for it. So we have somebody who will help us gauge when we're seeing it off. You know what I mean? So all of us collectively can help each other gauge. Girl, don't you take down from that. Don't you back away from that. Boy, you better keep going. That don't sound right. We have people on the call that will tell you what it is. And I love that, because that's the only way we're going to get better.
Mm-hmm.
And so that I think this is but it did. I had to go ahead and say that today. I said, listen, my birthday's coming up and I'm getting ready to be 40, none of your business. And honey, not there. Not I better be somebody's wife in next week. But that's just where it is. But that's the standard. At one point in time, I didn't even think I had a right to ask.
Mm.
I
Mm.
didn't feel like I had a right to, I didn't feel like I had a right to require that. But baby, now baby girl done got us some standards and done learned some stuff and get walking real close with what God's called me to be. And now I understand it's my right. And I want it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not taking nothing less. I want it. And if
Right.
you can't, I'm okay. Move out the way.
Right. So it's kind of like the prodigal son. Like, I know we use that as an example of leaving the birthright. But let's look at when we look at the prodigal son, and if we use that as ourselves, it's like I know what my right is. And when I've gave God my 100% yes, like there because I'm adopted. And even in the earthly realm, you can pass away and not leave your children anything, but the law, I don't know how they manage that, because you dead and gone, but the law states that if you adopt, you have to leave them an inheritance. So the thing is when we get out of the will of God and we begin to get grown, I'm grown. Ain't nobody gonna tell me. The good bishop ain't gonna tell me. Pastor ain't gonna tell me what I'm gonna do. And then we leave. We leave from the king's table, and then we begin to take. And then we begin to take scraps. Just like he was there and he was about to eat the pig food. And he said, then he understood. He had a flashback. Wait a minute. I deserve more than this. Even the servants eat better than this. The dogs eat better than this. And then when we shake ourselves up and remember who we are and whose we are. See, the only people that's willing to accept scraps is those who think that that's what they're worthy of.
Right.
So you can't feed me out of the pig slop bucket. You can't give me pieces of you and think I'm going to take pieces of you and be okay with pieces of friendship. pieces of
Mm-hmm.
relationships, pieces of any type of ship. I'm not going to take a piece, not when my father is king.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And this is my right to have this, and I will not accept less.
Mm-hmm.
Not saying that I'm honoring, not saying that I'm not humble, but understand I know who I am.
Mm-hmm.
True indeed. Give me gold or give me nothing.
That go, my girl. Hey. So the thing is once you get out so far, there's only so far you're gonna be able to go when you belong to him.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you just condition yourself to eat from the slop bucket.
Mm-hmm. And people will do that.
Yeah, like you go and you eat from everybody else's table. You go and you sleep with everybody over there, and then you come and regurgitate back to me? Absolutely not.
Absolutely not.
I won't eat the remnants of where you been.
Mm-hmm. You know, Mama used to tell us all the time, when you understand who you are, you'll stop taking, much right men. He much right yours as he is anybody else's. Those much right men. And I would be like, Mama, that's so stupid. Honey, now in my big old years of I understand. I deserve more than a much right man. I deserve more than that. I deserve more than somebody who's gonna I remember one time I had this guy tell me, you know what, you type person, there's two type people who'd rather have some of the pie or none of the pie. You a none of the pie type of person. I'm none of it. Don't give, if I can't have it all, don't give me none of it. I'm good on it. I'm cool on it. But in my yesteryears before I really stepped into who there's a difference in knowing who you are and and trying to create a facade of who you think you should be.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you are trying to create what social standards tell you that you should be, or what you see, or you're trying to mimic. Remember how we talked about this on the alpha call? It costs what it costs. And when you know that when you have a person who knows what high quality looks like, you know what an imitation look like when it's coming. Mm-hmm. And so now I've stepped into my high quality woman. I'm no longer an imitation of what it looks like, of what a woman looks like, but I am exactly who God has called me to be. I'm not living an imitation life. I'm not living an image of what I think it should be. This is who it is. This is who I am. And so when I understand my value, then I cost what I cost. Mm-hmm. Period. And it's just like we talked about on the alpha call. I'm not putting myself on the clearance rack to be with you. I cost what I cost, and either you can pay the cost or you will move out of the way, but somebody gonna buy it. I don't even have to put a commercial out for it. Somebody know I exist. Mm-hmm. Somebody knows that this is quality, and they're not asking for a discount, mm-hmm. but they can pay the cost.
Right.
That's my thing. I got to get to the person that can pay the cost.
You in the Rolls Royce category.
Listen, I'll tell you like this, Chandra. I tell people all the time, when I was in the world, I was cubic zirconia because I had to be fake and skin and grin and pretend because I was out there doing what I wanted to do and trying to get what I needed to get. But when I stepped into God and got in the will of God and allowed God to mold me, I'm a diamond. So if you can't afford the kind of diamond that's in Zales, Reeds, or any of them fancy jewelry stores that the rich upscale people can afford, then you need to get your tax bracket up. You need to find you a better paying job with some better this. And I tell people all the time, listen, going off of what Elder said, I ain't taking nobody sloppy seconds. I don't do sloppy seconds. If I can't be the main course, I don't want it. And if the leftovers look like it got mold on it, you could just toss it. I don't do those. You know. So I always tell people, listen, when you're in the world, you cubic zirconia because you got to be fake and skin and grin in the world. You got to pretend. But when you in God's house, you ain't got to. You either a pearl or a diamond. You one of the two. Ain't nothing less of value of that. So
Shay, I know you hopped on last. We're actually just we're actually recording. Let me let you know that because you jumped on last.
I see
it. So we're wrapping up. We have just finished wrapping up the series, The 5 Signs. I know you missed a little bit, but can you tell us what was some of your takeaways from this series?
So I missed a lot of it, honestly. I mean, I experienced, without even being a part of the group, the 5 signs, the flags. I've been experiencing flags all the last 14 days, to be honest with you. But I mean, mainly just the same way you can give the world your energy and time, and you can put so much time and effort into the world and doing things that the world makes you do, you could put that same time and energy into God. That's how I feel, just overall. You can't expect God to bless you with something or give you more or something if you still add a lesser value than what God is calling you to be. So if you out here doing things that you know is outside of the realm of God, you can't expect God to do anything do anything with you other than what you're putting yourself out there for. Pretty much, you can't ask God for $1,000,000 if you financially unstable or not responsible. It's not rational. So you want God to give you the world and then some. You got to give him the world and then some, and you just got to take the consequences, the repercussions, the trials and the tribulations as they come, because as you elevate and evolve, you're just going to experience things whether you like them or not. That's just how it goes. So
okay. Miss Kim, do you want to share your takeaway if you're able to unmute? She may not be able to unmute. So as I said in the beginning, I'm not going to keep y'all on till 9 o'clock tonight. Wanted to do.
I wish you would, because I was late coming in. No, I'm just kidding. Listen, you might have to give me some one-on-one time, because I've been missing out, and it ain't been because I wanted to. It's just been so much going on, and I'm like, oh Lord. I didn't even get a chance to go to church yesterday, and I was like all thrown off. I was just all out of realm yesterday. It was horrible, but
oh wow. So I actually made an announcement at the beginning of the call that these first 2 series, hopefully maybe you can go back and go through some of the podcasts. I kind of give nuggets on the podcast, but I do the real teaching on the calls. But the first 2 series is leading us up. The next series, when we meet again, we are actually going to be talking about breaking soul ties. So yeah, the eyes is big. Get ready. Put your big girl panties on and your seatbelt strapped down. We're getting ready to go for a ride.
Listen, I'm gonna have to put my Timberland boots on and my North Face coat and some Vaseline, okay?
So we are going to continue to embrace our singleness, learning the red flags. Sometimes, just to recap, Chandra said earlier that sometimes we are the red flag. And we need to understand that sometimes we're the problem. And that's what these calls are about. It's not about blaming. It is not about shaming. It's about accountability and taking responsibility for yourself and for healing and knowing what your triggers are, why you move the way you move, why you think the way you think. And we're getting control over our thinking. So hopefully everybody has been journaling so that you know. And if you've done this, I promise you might not say it out loud, but God has shown you some things and some people that you're going to have to cut loose to get where He's desires for you to go and for you to get whatever it is that you are dreaming and hoping for. So we are not vision killers or dream killers. We are not. I think I had posted, Chandra, you'll like this one. I had posted, I'm okay with dreamers, but I can't connect myself with someone that dreams with no vision.
So I got to share this with you. So yesterday, Apostle Moore preached at another church, and she was live. And one of the things she say is, we as people want to deposit little. We want to deposit little, but withdraw a lot. And she was saying, how are you going to deposit a little bit into God and then want a big withdrawal from God's account when you deposited very little into him? And when she said that, I said, oh, when I go into the next group, rather a single group, I'm gonna share that. Because when I say that touched my soul yesterday, I was screaming. I was at work and my lady was like, well, Shay, can you please stop hollering? Like, ow, Jesus. I was hitting the table. Listen, it was bad. Right. But that goes along with this. She said, don't deposit a little into Christ and expect a big withdrawal to come back from him if you're not depositing what you're requiring and asking God of. Because even though God is a God that will give us if we ask for it, he's also a God that expects you to give as well as you want him to return back to you. So when she said that, so that was good right there.
Yeah. That's good, Shay. So what I was meaning with, I don't mind people who dream, but I can't connect myself in this season with people who have no vision. Dreamers means you're sleeping. What are you doing when you're awake? When we think of dreams, everybody thinks of Martin Luther King. I had a dream. Da 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 da. Yeah, he had a dream, but when he was awake, he had a vision. So there was work. The vision takes work. Dreaming, you just simply dream. And so where we're headed, we need for our dreams and visions to match up so we can have some manifestation. So I need you to be able to dream while you're sleeping, and I need for you to be able to have a vision while you're awake. And then when you can get those two on the same page, because dreaming is subconscious. You don't have no control over your dreams, but your vision, you got every bit of control over it. So we want to learn so that even my subconscious understands what my vision is. So I'm going to dream about how I'm going to get this done. I'm going to dream about what steps I need to take tomorrow for my vision to come to pass. And as Chandra said, one of her visions is she's somebody's wife. She dreams about being married. She has since she was a little girl, bless her soul. But now the vision can come to pass because now there's work to do when you're awake, and that work is within you. Chandra, go ahead.
So there's
That's gonna make me stay on here to 9:00 anyway, aren't you?
Yeah.
Something that got, and I think it's important that people understand this is that it's a known fact that your subconscious cannot tell the difference between fake and reality. So when you buy into something and you believe it wholeheartedly, your conscious it has no way of knowing what's not real and what's real. And so when you begin to buy out to the vision that God has shown you for yourself, and you begin not to only buy out, but like you said, you begin to work in that vision, it has no other choice but to create itself, because it has no way of knowing if it's not real or if it's fake. So when you begin to envision, see, dreaming is just like you said, it's just dreaming. The subconscious knows, okay, when we wake up, this is going to go away. But when it, look at that. But when it's something real, right? When you begin to start talking about, when we begin to start thanking God and saying, God, I thank you. I thank you for my husband. Let me tell you something. The mind has no way of knowing, like the subconscious has no way of knowing if I'm telling the truth or if I'm lying, but it will be able to pick up on what I put in on the inside. So if I begin to have that single of doubt, then it picks up the doubt. But when I say it with fervor and belief,
come on,
and I say I'm somebody's wife,
preach now.
That it has no way of knowing. So this is not about, when you really trying to get something, sometimes you got to trick yourself. And sometimes when we talking, you got to be in a place to where you got to say it even if you don't believe it. There's a certain part of Reverend Ike. I know that Bishop will know who he is. There's a lot of people who might not know, but Reverend Ike he coined the phrase "fake it till you make it." The problem with that is people couldn't figure out when to cut off the faking it and then just make it part. A lot of people couldn't make that connector, so they continued to fake it and never made it. What he was really wanting the people to understand is that there's a part that we We fake our subconscious until it believes it, and then we make the connection to where we've made it, not keep faking it. So what you got to do is you got to continue. You got to be so sold out to the process that you willing to be stupid for yourself. Why not be stupid for yourself? You done been stupid for a man who would give you less than. You done been stupid for a job who underrated you and undermined you and didn't give you your worth. But baby, when I can begin to pay, I believe me. And there's one thing that I will always say: you might not can't bet on nothing else, but I can bet on myself because I know what I can do. When you understand what you can do, when you understand what you can create, when you begin to sell out to the vision that God has shown, the word says, write the vision down and make it plain. A lot of us get stuck on continuing to write the vision, so we never put it in action. A lot of us get stuck on, God, I need more clarity on the vision. He done gave you what the vision is. Why are you not working toward it? Why are you praying for a vision that he's already given you? If you have a desire and you understand that it lines up with what God has for you, then that's the vision. Move. Stop asking for clarity. Stop asking, God, just show me. God, just show me. He done showed you. And now you
know what I think it is, Chandra? I'm sorry.
What's that?
I think what it is it's not so much that people don't understand the vision or don't want to do the vision. Some people are so scared to step out and pursue the vision because either they know their fear of being uncomfortable, the fear of the unknown. And a lot of times we get so busy and so consumed and so wrapped up in doubting ourselves and doubting what we can and cannot do because our self-conscious tell us, yeah, you can't do that. Or if you do that, you're going to fail at that, or something to that nature, something negative. So it's like, we know the dream says to do this. And we know if we step out on faith and don't think about what the outcome is going to be, we just step out on faith and just trust God and do it, it's going to manifest as something. But a lot of people don't want to be financially uncomfortable. They don't want to be in a place where they got to sacrifice and give up habits and lifestyles and expectations and different things in their life that they're self-consciously accustomed to, or things that's either above their means or under their means, or however you want to label it. But it's just that uncomfortability of being uncomfortable. That's a lot of times I hear a lot of people say, oh, Lachey, you know what, I know that this idea I have could be $1 million mindset, but I know I got to spend money to make money. And right now, if I spend all this money on trying to make the vision come to pass and it don't, I'm going to be broke, busted, disgusted, and homeless. So what should I do? And I'm like, okay, pray about it. And if God tell you to do it, do it. He going to make sure you got the financial means. But a lot of people are scared to do it because they're scared of that uncomfortability that comes with it. So
the difference between, let me show you something. The difference between that mindset and the millionaire is the person that was sold out to the concept. If you are still allowing faith to lead you, then you're not sold out. If you are still afraid to make a move, then you still ain't sold out. When you get to a place to where, if you had to choose between fighting for your life and staying somewhere and dying, then when you have that thought that I'm going to make it, you begin to fight. You begin to fight like you're supposed to live. When you know that there is something greater, then you begin to move like there's something greater. The difference between the people who have the dream and what will happen is God will give a vision, and if you don't act on it, it will leave you and go to somebody else. It will leave you and somebody else will create it. And the thing is you'll hear people say, you know what? No lie. About 10 years ago, I had a vision for this. The difference between that person and the person that now created the very same thing is that it was a choice of sink or swim. They haven't put themselves in the sink or swim. When you begin to swim, then you've bought out to the vision. When you stop worrying, and I can tell you, I've been there. My sister will tell you I've been there. I've been in a place where I had to create something from nothing. And I didn't let fear stop me. She tells you, we hear it all the time. She'll tell you, I'm a dreamer. I'm not afraid to dream, but I'm not afraid to act either.
I see you, Bishop. Go ahead, Chandra. Finish your sentence.
No, I'm done.
Okay, Bishop. Or is that Pastor?
No, I was just listening to what y'all was saying, and I thought about a quote that I heard this morning. It says, the process to your success will always be in direct opposition to your present habits.
That's good.
Yeah. Yes.
That's good.
Yeah.
Now, I was laughing at you, Bishop, right? Because you had Apostle Roland in the background, and I was dying because when we had the Friends and Family Day, me and Chief had a whole debate on who was the best dressed person, and you had Apostle Roland, and I said, "Oh Lord, can't nobody outdress Apostle Roland." That's why I was sitting there laughing so hard when he
You
kept
didn't see
coming on
that.
the camera.
You didn't see that.
Yeah, I saw it. I saw it. It was the title. It was the title, Bishop. I got you.
All right. Anybody want to add anything else? Chandra?
I don't
Shay?
think we. Mm-mm.
All right. So I'm going to give you some homework. If you have been in this series and you know that you have a soul tie with someone, and I kind of cover this a little bit in my podcast, which will not drop yet until we are here. But someone can actually have a soul tie with you, and you not have
Ooh,
one
I
with
got
them.
somebody that does.
Because sometimes we can move on in life, and you can have someone that's just stuck on you for whatever reason. I want you to get that person in your mind, so that when we begin this next series, we're going to begin to break that soul tie. Or I'm going to give you the tools to be able to do it. You have to do the work to be able to do it. So our next series is going to be breaking soul ties. It will be, I won't be able to get it done quickly, so I know it's going to be a 4-week minimum. You guys, I'll try to get it all done. I don't know, sometimes y'all be giving me real good feedback. But anyway, the next series, I'm not going to say how long it is God's will. But that is our next series. If all hearts and mind is satisfied, any prayer requests? None.
Yeah, I just
Yeah,
want
I
you
do.
to that my sister's get ready to buy a house. Yes, Lord, yes, she is. And we just need to just pray that the closing goes smoothly, that the appraisal goes smoothly, that that everything just works the way in God's plan, and that according to what God's will is. If we could just do that for my sister and her family, thank you.
Okay, well,
Hallelujah.
You know what, Bishop?
all right. So, well, Chandra, I was going to lead us out in a word of prayer, but how about you do us the honors tonight?
Okay.
Me?
Yes, you.
Oh Lord. Was anybody else got something? I think Sister Shay had him. Sister
Chandra,
Shay
you
had.
walked it. You look. You set yourself up for that one. But yeah, my prayer is for just overall prayer from myself, financial, a better job opportunity, but most importantly, God continues to heal my mother. My mother got good news, so I know God is working it out. Originally when my mom went into the hospital a month ago, she went in the hospital, she couldn't breathe and she almost died, suffocated pretty much. And then they told her kidneys were bad and she might be on permanent dialysis. But when she went to the kidney doctor this week, they told her that she may not have to be on permanent dialysis. They told her they're going to do another couple of weeks of dialysis, and if she keeps improving, then they'll take her off of dialysis and she'll just have to do a diet change. So I'm grateful for that. So
Amen.
Oh, amen.
but yeah.
All right, Miss Chandra, if you'll take us out in a word of prayer.
Well, I'm gonna go ahead and be obedient, but I'm gonna tell y'all right now. I've learned my prayer is a little different. It's just a little different. I don't go to God about things. I just go ahead and thank Him for what it is, because we know that God is the finisher of all.
That's right.
And so when we know that God meets us at the end of the problem, not just at the beginning, but He's already at the end because He's finished it, we can go ahead and give God thanks. So, God, tonight we all come to You with hearts with satisfied and focused on You, God. God, we are just in a moment of thanksgiving. We just want to thank You for what You have already done and for what You are doing. God, we thank You that in this season You did
Yes,
not pass
God.
by. God, we thank You that even in moments to where we feel like we would need for you to come to us, that God, you don't have to come to us to get permission, God, that you just do it. You just handle the situation, God. You see it for what it is, and you have already taken care of it. And so, God, for that, we thank you. God, we thank you for the house closing. God, we thank you for getting the adjuster in line. God, we thank you for getting the appraiser in line. God, we thank you for getting the underwriter in line. God, we thank you that
Yes,
that
God.
closed and that we are finished and that she is in her house and she is happy and she is doing exactly what you have called her to do, God. God, we thank you for Shay's mother being healed right now. God, we thank you for allowing job opportunities. God, we thank you for allowing promotions. God, we thank you for financial stability. God, we thank you for allowing us to create wealth and generational wealth. God, we thank you for growing people. God, we thank you for
Yes.
allowing us and teaching us how to grow your kingdom. God, we thank you for being able to fellowship with brothers and sisters in like mind. God, we thank you for Bishop. God, we thank you that he gives us his time. God, we thank you, and we ask that you continue to bless the man of God. We ask you that you bless his wife, that she allows him to sit on these calls to help us single people, Lord. God, we thank you for
Yes,
God. We
God.
for everybody who wanted to attend and that we couldn't. God, whatever it is they are seeking from you, God, that you do it just for them. God, you do it just for them. God, if there's somebody that feels like they're lacking, God, make it enough. Give them more than enough, God. God, let their cup overflow with whatever it is they're asking for. But God, and most importantly, God, when they wake up, let them be grateful. Let them be thankful. Let them wake
Yes,
up in
God.
you. Let them wake up in your love. Let them wake up in your presence. Let them wake up in a relationship. Let them wanting more of you, God. If they want anything else, God, let it be more of you, God.
Yes,
God, we
God.
thank you that there's not a problem that we can encounter that you haven't already solved. And God, we thank you for it. So,
Yes.
God, on today, we just come bringing thanksgiving, thanking you for being who you are to each one of us, thanking you for being the God that sits high and looks low, thanking you for being the author of finish. God, thank you for it. God, we thank you for it right now in the mighty name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen. I love each of you. I will see you on the next call.
Love
You
y'all
have been
too.
listening to
I'll
the
call your week
Embracing
blessed.
Singleness podcast with
Bye bye.
Prophetess Shimika Bowers. We ask that you follow us on Facebook, Spotify, and YouTube.